Hi, if this is the first of my videos that you've seen, you've come to the right spot because we're going to talk about how to drink wine. Now let's assume that you've already got a bottle of wine and you've got it open and you've got a glass in front of you and you've actually poured some into the glass. That's where I'm at right now. Before you start drinking wine, it's always a good thing to know, even if it doesn't mean a lot to you in the beginning, you want to know what kind of wine you're drinking and where it came from. For example, this one is a Merlot and it came from Italy. So I'm not going to dwell on that. It's just one of those things you start keeping track of. It's like you drink this particular Merlot and you think, ooh, I kind of like that. Well, then you pay attention the next time if you drink another Merlot, did you like it too? So you start to build your own personal inventory of what wines you like. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves, so let's start with the wine in front of us. Okay, first thing you want to do is take a look at it. A lot of the joy of wine is the beauty of it. And that beauty comes not only from tasting it and smelling it, but from looking at it. You observe the color. Now, you can't quite see this, I'm going to put it down, but you look at it and over a white surface, something that's really plain, like plain white sheet of paper or napkin if you've got that, depending on where you're at, and you just take a look at it. You want to see, first of all, the color. What color is that? It's, you don't just say purple. It's not purple. This one's a deep, dark red. It's got some purple elements to it, but it's not an inky black, super dark purple. Now you might have a white wine. Merlot is a red wine, so that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit here. Same things apply to both, but if you have a white wine, it's not just going to be white. It's going to be a shade of yellow. It might be very, very clear, almost water-like clear. That would be called a platinum. So every wine is a little bit different in color. Even this one Merlot to the next is going to be very, very similar. So these are the things you want to start looking at. Now another thing, while you've got it up there, you can give it a little swirl, and be really careful with this because it's easy to slop it out. I'll show you in a moment here the best way to do it. But as you do that, and when you stop, you'll see these little things streaming down here. Let me see if I can get that close enough for you to see. I'm not sure how that's going to show up, but you'll see when you do your own. Now, what you really want to do is put it on a flat surface, like a table, and then go around like that. That way you're less likely to slop it all over. Because when you're doing it in the air like this, you kind of tend to tip it without realizing it, and then it goes sloshing everywhere. So that's your first step. You want to look at it, maybe give it a little twirl just to see what these little things coming down. Those are referred to as legs. Some people call them arches. But it's just like little bits dripping. There are some good ones coming there. Hopefully you can see those. Anyway, so that's your first step. You'll look at it. Does it look right? Is it too brown? If it's a white wine and it's really brown, it's probably not any good. But again, we're not going to go jumping ahead here. Just look at it. Now the next thing you do is you really want to put it down and give it a good swirl. That's what you're going to hear here in a moment. That noise, that old grinding noise, is me swirling on a table I've got down here. Okay, now the reason you do that is you want to introduce some air into it. You want to let it begin to wake up and start breathing. That's what that's called. When it starts to get more air mixed in with the wine, like almost like little bubbles, it's called breathing. And then you want to take a good sniff. And do enjoy it. So what you're looking for there in general is, what does it smell like? First of all, does it smell good? I mean, it should smell good. You don't want to smell stuff like rotten eggs or something, because that's not a good thing to smell. If it smells really bad in that respect, I would be very careful about tasting it. You might take a teeny tiny sip as your next step, but if it smells really, really bad for reasons that it shouldn't, then it's probably not a good bottle. But that's very rare. Excuse me. All right, let's give it another swirl and see what we got in this one. Now this one is very strong on vanilla notes, or it smells like vanilla. Even though there's no vanilla added to this, the grape itself is producing things other than just plain grape juice smell. Now the grape juice smell that most people think of is, like from Welch's grape juice. Those are made from Concord grapes. Most of your fine wines are made from other grapes. This one being Merlot. That's the name of the grape that this wine was made from. So it's not going to smell like Concord grapes. It's not going to smell like Welch's grape juice. It's going to smell like itself. In this case, Merlot. And Merlot has, and this particular one has some elements or notes or scents of vanilla. Also, it has, let's see, get some berries in there, something more like a raspberry a little bit, strawberry. These are the things you're looking for. Take 3 or 4 sniffs, do a good swirl in between, keep it going there. Now the other thing that happens when you swirl is inside the bowl of the glass, you start to get a little bit of evaporation. So that gives you something to smell. If it's all just sitting right down there at the bottom, you're not going to smell anything. So getting it stirred up in the glass, as well as getting some air mixed in with it, is going to open it up and make it more available to your senses. So we've looked at it, we've given it a sniff, checked the legs on the glasses. Next thing, yep, we're going to give it a taste. So again, one last swirl. A good part of tasting anything, not just wine, is the scent of it, the smell of it. So if you give it that little twirl, it gets a little bit in there. So as you're smelling, you inhale a bit, you get a little bit of the fragrance in your nose mixing with the taste in your mouth, and just makes it all the more enjoyable. So let's see what we get this way. Hints of strawberry. There's some woodiness in there. That comes from the oak that the barrel is, or the oak of the barrel that it's aged in. There's a little bit of currant in there, which is kind of like a raisin. Okay, now this is a key thing here. What I'm experiencing is a whole new set of tastes. I'm getting a lot more of the tannin. Again, that comes from the woodiness, the oaky part. That's a little bit more pronounced now than it was initially. Now, this is a good thing, because a sign of a complex wine, and the more complex the wine, the better it is. A sign of a complex wine is every time you smell it or taste it, you get a little bit different sensation. You smell different things, you taste different things. So that's a good sign for this one. This is, I would consider this a very good bottle of wine. And, well, glass out of the bottle of wine. So these are the basics of learning how to drink wine. You begin by looking at it, then you smell it, then you taste it. So these three senses are engaged at that point. Now you actually experience more with wine, but those are the basics of it. If you can get that part down, you can begin to really appreciate wine. You can understand it better, no matter what it's cost, expensive or cheap or whatever. You start there with your wine. You don't just slug it down, you actually savor it as it goes into your mouth and down your throat. So once again, look at it, smell it, and taste it. These are your three basic things: sight, smell, and taste. You're going to get some tactile things in your mouth. It's going to feel heavier, it's going to feel lighter. We'll talk about that more in later videos. But for right now, you get those points down, you're going to be enjoying your wine a lot more, and you're going to start to understand it better. So cheers.